Hi, welcome. My name is Marta Rañón, and I'm with Southern Caregiver Resource Center. We are so happy that you can join us today. I am so thrilled about what we're going to be learning today as it relates to self care. I know that for a lot of us who are family caregivers who are trying to balance and work, home, children, and of course, caregiving, sometimes we get a little bit stressed and feeling overburdened, and that's why today's conversation is so important. So I invite you to bring your friends, any relatives that are with you in your house, also maybe some pen and paper in case you need to jot down any of the information that we're going to be covering, as well as resources that you might want to access afterwards. We definitely want you to make sure that you are feeling supported and know where to go for assistance. So today's topic is on self care, like I said, and it's also very focused on caregiving. I know that it's for a lot of us, caregiving is something that we do because we are caring for that individual. We love that person, we are related to them, but sometimes it really takes a toll on ourselves. So today's topic is compassion meditation for caregivers. And if you haven't already connected to us, I invite you to visit our website at scrc.care or www.caregivercenter.org. It's right there on your screen. Or you can give us a call at 858-268-4432. We have staff who are able and willing to help all of caregivers who are out there maybe struggling or challenged by the responsibilities of being a caregiver. We focus on you 100%, and we want to make sure that you know that we are here to help. So give us a call and connect to our free services available to you. So I am going to introduce our speaker, and I'm like I said, I'm so excited because, especially during this time, who couldn't use some tips on how to incorporate self-care, right? We've been going through this chaotic time, this pandemic, and really having to shift and adjust and try to still balance everything that we are responsible for. So self-care is one of those things that kind of gets forgotten, and we want to make sure that it doesn't, that it stays front and center, because we all know that if you don't take care of yourself, then it's really difficult to take care of someone else. So it is my pleasure to introduce Gretchen Donovan. Gretchen Donovan is a meditation and yoga instructor in Encinitas, and she has been teaching for about 20 years. Her teaching cultivates a broad range of techniques, and that's what allows her to have a really unique teaching style. Her enthusiasm and commitment to helping others access growth and self awareness is both accessible and infectious. And of course, we know that self awareness is very important so that we can tell when we need a break and when it's time for us to incorporate some self care. She's a certified Feeding Your Demons meditation facilitator and embraces a broad philosophy of total mindfulness. It is a practice with the intention that from mindfulness, we can avoid an isolated way of thinking. So it is my pleasure to introduce Gretchen Donovan. Gretchen, welcome to our live stream class today. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Martha, for that gracious introduction. And for all this self-care that all of you do. And it's really an act of compassion in and of itself to step into that role. So compassion is the hope that a person's suffering will diminish. Compassion is the wish for all sentient beings to be free from suffering. So sometimes the image that's used for this sort of immeasurable quality of compassion is that of an armless mother watching her child wash away in a river. The intense compassion of what can I do is quite poignant and powerful. What can I do? So another image is that of perhaps a cow going to slaughter. We experience the cow as our own mother, and the experience is sort of this depth of empathy, and the cow has no protection and no refuge. So again, compassion is not passive, it's active sympathy, and it extends to all sentient beings. We feel for those less fortunate than us. There's nothing more important than developing a level of compassion and purifying our own karmic field in doing so. So, and compassion really never fails to do that. But with that, compassion is also combined with what's called prajna in Sanskrit, or wisdom. So we can't have what's called idiot compassion or a pity, right? To really offer a level of compassion that's active and filled with wisdom, we have to come from it from a place of really a wholehearted act from the heart, from the center of our hearts. So to develop compassion, we practice a specific practice called Tonglen, Tonglen. And Tong means to send, and Len means to take. So in this practice, we're sending out positive qualities and taking in other suffering. So it's very important as caregivers to only take in what you're able to take in, right? This is a very important aspect of being a caregiver and doing this practice in general. But sometimes I like to call it sipping little, and we'll work with the breath here, but only taking in what you're actually capable of. So this practice is based on the understanding of what is referred to in Buddhism as emptiness. So what is emptiness? This means that all phenomena, all things are devoid of any real or absolute existence, which is a pretty radical way of thinking, right? That there's no one out there, right? There's no difference, you, me, this interconnectedness. There is no suffering even, right? Even though we know there is suffering, there also is none. It's an emptiness that's free. It's free of seizing and holding, of grasping, of clinging. And if we don't kind of have this basic understanding, it's a real, this kind of freedom in it, then we might lack the basis for this practice. So we practice Tonglen without injuring ourselves, right? Without taking on too much. And when we take on the suffering of others, we flash on that emptiness, that luminosity, that freedom. And if we bring the suffering of others into our hearts and flash on that emptiness, it's really like a natural luminosity, an open, spacious awareness, right? When we're able to flash on that, take it in, we connect with our own true nature. And then the suffering is purified, and we can relax in that nature of mind, in that pure, luminescent quality. Okay, so it's important that I can talk and try and explain these things, but really the practice itself, the visceral response, the interactive kind of process of it is more important. In other words, doing it, right? In other words, coming into this place where we're doing this practice of Tonglen, this taking in other suffering and sending out positive qualities, light, open awareness. So let's go ahead and do it. Let's go ahead and do the practice. And typically this practice is done with your eyes closed. If that is something that you feel uncomfortable with, or you would prefer to keep your eyes open, that's fine. I suggest that your eyes are soft. Okay? So if you haven't already found a comfortable place to sit, whether that's in a chair with your feet on the ground, or in a cushion or a couch, wherever you are, the spine is straight, eyes are soft, and you remember this kind of, it's what's called this twofold path of egoless self and others. You know, you remember this kind of twofold path of selflessness, right? Egolessness of self, phenomena, right? And if that's really unclear to you, it's okay. Just see if you can relax and don't get too heady or in your mind. And so we'll begin by taking some relaxation breaths. First, breathe into any physical tension. Notice where you're holding physical tension in your body. As you inhale your breath, hook it with your breath, this physical tension, and release it on the out breath. Now breathe into any emotional tension. Right? Notice where you're holding emotional tension in your body. And as you breathe in, right, hook it with your breath and release it on the out breath. Now breathe into any mental tensions or worries. Notice where in your body you're holding mental tensions or worries, right? If you're a caregiver and you're concerned about yourself or someone else, and you're holding these qualities in your body, hook it with your breath. And slowly, gently release it on the out breath. And together, we'll just raise a heartfelt motivation for this practice. May this practice be of benefit and for ourselves and for all sentient beings. And generating this heartfelt motivation just for doing it. Thank you. So in this particular practice, it's a visualization where we begin with your own mother, right? If you never knew your mother, it's okay. You can bring to mind someone who's like your mother or someone who raised you or a mother-like figure. Coming to terms with our own mother is very important development for compassion. If we can't come to terms with our own mother, it's hard to have compassion for others. So even if you've had a good mother or a bad mother, we'll still just begin with this figure. So in front of you, remembering your mother's compassion. And first, think of the gift of the body that she gave you, right? Your biological mother would have given you your body. Recognize that she carried you for 9 months, which in and of itself is a sacrifice and not something particularly comfortable. And then she gave you birth, which is also something she had to undergo. And think that she cared for you with self-sacrifice. Perhaps she cared for your needs, your complaints, your illnesses when you were a child. And maybe even your lack of gratitude, your expectations, your greed and needs that every child needs and has. She had her own grief, anxiety, and pain, and yet she did her best. While caring for you, she was also experiencing her own sicknesses, her own aging, and the knowledge that she too would die. Try to imagine your own mother suffering and the different kinds of suffering that perhaps she went through. Imagine this suffering in a personal way. Even if your mother had a particular handicap, or she had a problem, issue like alcoholism or drugs or domestic violence, and she got caught up in some of that because of her own suffering. So really try and feel her in this personal way. Now feel a longing to relieve that suffering. Breathe in. Breathe in through your nose. Allow your breath to be like a vacuum and pull in that suffering. But remember, only take in what you're capable of, not too much more, sipping in. And as you breathe it in, remove it, remove the suffering. And as you reach the end of the inhalation, right, flash an emptiness, or what's called shunyata. So as we breathe, there's a space between the inhalation and the exhalation, and it's a space, it's an empty, open, spacious awareness. So flash on that. And then exhale, freedom from suffering, freedom from fear, and clearing her karmic field, clearing that field. Breathing in and breathing out in this way. Be really willing to take in her burden. Flash on emptiness as it comes into you, and with the exhalation, see it leave as a clear, cool breeze that clears that karmic field. And gradually see her clearing and becoming more and more peaceful. So your exhalation carries a white light. This white light permeates her body, and the in-breath keeps her fear or her pain. Her suffering is being peeled off and dissolving into your luminous, open, spacious heart. And then from that space, you're sending out love and compassion. See her begin to feel full of serenity, freedom, freedom from attachment, fears, anxiety, hatred, and aggression. Just free. Breathing in and out in this way. And see that all the material things that she needs are accommodated. Her clothing, her food. She has assistants or helpers. And see her physically change. Right? You see this change occurring. Her appearance changes as she becomes clear. Imagine her attaining full awakening. See those qualities arise in her and offer that awakening with the exhalation. So now, imagine next to her is an easy person, right? So you're visualizing a person next to your mother as an easy person, someone it's easy to feel love and compassion for. Maybe that's a young child, an older person, a dear friend, even a lover. But see this person next to your mother. And now imagine you relieving their suffering through breathing it in, right? Sipping in, flashing on that emptiness, right? That space, that awareness, the luminous heart, right? Your luminous, spacious heart mind, and releasing with the exhalation. So breathing in any physical or psychological or spiritual pain that this person might have and releasing it on the exhalation. And you give back to them that same cool breeze, that luminosity, the breeze of clarity and awakening. See this person change as you do this. See them actually physically change, right? Really notice getting this felt sense. See them change. And be willing to take in their suffering, just what you can. Take in the suffering on the in-breath, dissolve it into emptiness, and release the awakened energy of compassion that clears the stream of karma or negativity, and see them clear and awakened, almost like a Buddha, a clear awakening and see their Buddha nature, their awakened heart, shining. So now imagine on the other side of your mother, a difficult person, right? Someone who you find challenging. Maybe it's some kind of enemy or a difficult person. Someone maybe who in the past has wanted to harm you in some way or another. Could be someone you just find challenging now or sometime in the past. See them very clearly, right? On the other side of your mother. And now breathe in their suffering. Recognize it. Right? Flash on emptiness and release to them love and compassion. Now their suffering and negativity may feel much different. May feel hot or sticky, uncomfortable, right? But if you're willing to take it in, if you're willing to sip, take in just what you can and pull it off and dissolve it into that luminous, spacious, open heart mind, and release the relative force of love and compassion. Now gradually see them transform as the layers of confusion and delusion are removed. See this difficult person emerging as a luminous being. This luminous being on the way to waking up. Waking up to absolute truth as all of the obscurations and negativity have been removed. Breathing in and out in this way, taking in, flashing on emptiness, luminous light, sending out open, spacious awareness, luminosity, love, and compassion. Now, allow this practice of Tonglen to expand to include everyone, even on this call, right? Even though you don't see other people, knowing that other people are out there on this call, perhaps experiencing the same meditation at the same time. Let's include all those on the call and feeling a willingness to take in, to remove, and carry their suffering. And then let's include everyone in your more intimate circle, perhaps those in your household, family members, maybe those in your neighborhood. Just take in their suffering, breathe in, And send out luminous light, love, and compassion. Be willing to carry their suffering. And remember, we're holding this with an understanding of emptiness. Holding. Release the cool breeze of compassion. And gradually expand out to include all beings in your community, maybe your state, seen and unseen. The practice is becoming more vast. So it's beginning to be unconceivable. Move out into the country and the world, universe, still pulling in the negativity, flashing on emptiness. Keep expanding. The unconceivable number of beings that are all over the world, beyond. Feel your own vastness, your own immeasurability. Understanding the absolute reality of doing this practice in the relative world within the framework of the immeasurable nature of mind, right? Remember, this is not passive. This is an active meditation. You're offering out to all beings insight, understanding, awakening to the nature of their own minds. As you continue to do this, see them wake up. See all beings wake up to their true nature. And see all obscurations clear. As you gradually expand this receiving and offering, make it go everywhere. Make it truly immeasurable. Feel the vastness in which this takes place. Feel all unconceivable kinds of confusion, suffering, harm, ill will, depression, bewilderment, on and on. See all the different beings of the whole universe. Put all of them, put that off them like a veil, right? Pull it off. Pull all those qualities, all those negative qualities off like a veil, being removed. And then with the out breath, feel their awakening nature light up. Using the quality of your breath, the intent focus, the immeasurable nature of compassion, taking in and sending out, including all beings. Keeping this experience of compassion close to your heart, slowly begin to open your eyes. And then we'll bring the two palms together, gathering any and all merit received from this practice. May it be a benefit, not only for ourselves, but for all beings, as caregivers, as those we care for, and beyond, immeasurably. May it be a benefit. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gretchen. I feel so much more calm. And, there's something about really giving back to others. There is an insurmountable amount of research that talks about the benefits of giving to others. And it even makes you feel better being able to do that. And I think that's why a lot of our caregivers do this role, because they want to help. They genuinely want to help and alleviate some of that suffering that is obvious, the physical suffering, and maybe some of the limitations that we see when we are caring for someone. But everything that you have been talking about, and of course, again, there's research that shows that when we engage in meditative practices, we allow our brains to really calm themselves. We allow our body to oxygenate the brain and really be able to take a breath that is going to cleanse us from all of the stress. And so I really invite our listeners or people who participated today to continue this type of practice, whether it's what you taught us today or something similar. You don't necessarily have to be a yogi, but you can make sure that you incorporate some opportunities for breathing. I know that with my children, I have taught them that when things are really stressful, just take a breath. But not just take a breath, take a deep breath. And we follow that by two more breaths. So it's three breaths. All it takes is for our brain to just kind of rewire itself to calm down, and then head on with that awareness, challenging situation that they might be experiencing, then they're able to more clearly adjust. And so I really invite all of our participants today to go to our website, scrc.care, because we have this great self-care challenge that starts October 13th to October 22nd, and it is free. It is an opportunity for you to incorporate some of these practices on a daily basis. They don't take a lot of time. We're not even asking you to take an hour of your day. It could be as you're washing the dishes, as you are folding clothes, as you are walking to your car, just to become more aware, more mindful, and really to take care of ourselves. So, Gretchen, this was wonderful. Thank you so much for allowing us the opportunity to really bring some compassion into the work that caregivers do. And of course, I say work, and it's not like it's a paid job. I say work because it is a lot of work. It is not easy being a caregiver. And so our hope is that today they can incorporate some of those self-care practices. Gretchen, I have a couple of questions that have been coming in. So if you can kind of give us a couple of minutes of your time, and maybe we can help answer some of these questions, I would love to hear from you a little bit more. So the first question is, can I do this type of meditation if I am not Buddhist?
Absolutely. No question. Any denomination, non denominational, anyone can do this meditation. Basically, we are using the breath to take in others' suffering, whatever that might be. And remember, I talked a little bit about sipping, so not taking in more than you can handle, and then sending out positive, light energy, love, compassion, and then slowly just expanding that, right? So not getting too linear in it, not being too specific that it's only for one person or one thing. You can start with that particular person, but then expanding it. So it becomes really what's called immeasurable.
Great. I have another question for you. Can I use this practice on the spot in daily life when hard situations arise?
Yes, for sure. Um, and depending upon how much time you have, the beginning breaths that we did, those 3 breaths in the before we actually started more of the formal meditation of breathing into physical tension, breathing into emotional tension, and breathing into mental tension or worries. That's an exercise that you can certainly do on the spot. And it's a little bit like what you were recommending to your children, that to bring that awareness of where am I feeling this in my body? Wow, it's profound, right? Oftentimes it's very profound where we're feeling it and we tend to ignore it or try and avoid it or cover it up, right? But if we tap into where we're feeling it, sometimes we can move it and befriend it rather than it's really the path of transformation rather than the path of we want to not be on that path of avoidance, right? Non-avoidance.
I'm so glad you said that, Gretchen, because I think many times as busy caregivers that we all are, we suppress some of these emotions, these feelings, these signals that our body is giving us. Right? I mean, think about when you're hungry. Most of us just kind of say, "Oh, I'm just going to eat this candy bar. I'm just going to grab this piece of bread and go, go, go." But really, it's your body saying, "Hey, wait a second. Let's sit down and eat because I'm running out of fuel." And just like our body is telling us, we need to be connected to the rest of our body, not just the physical but the emotional, and saying, right now I need a break. I love you, mom. I love you, person that I'm caring for, but I right now need to step away for 5 minutes and really focus on myself so that when I come back I can be a better caregiver. And I am so glad that you mentioned that. Which leads me actually to this next question that says, I have a hard time sending compassion to myself. Do you have any advice?
That's a really common question, and it's a great question. But and it's so interesting that I think we all, many of us, share that same quality where it's easier for us to offer something to someone else, but somehow when it comes to ourselves, we find that more difficult. But true compassion, we have to be able to have it for ourselves before we can offer it to others. It's essential. It's because, like you mentioned, we'll run out of fuel. At some point, we won't be able to have what we need to skillfully offer compassion for others because we're out of gas.
Mhm. Yeah. And we know what happens when we run out of gas, right? We get stuck, and then it's our inability to really move forward. And I'm not just saying it figuratively, but literally, right? If I'm not feeling well, I'm not going to be willing to take on the rest of the day. I might have to sit back, and I'm not feeling well. So we need to make sure that you do take time to incorporate yourself. Um, I have another
And
one here that said, "Oh, I'm sorry.
just one other
Go ahead."
thing, I just one other thing I briefly mentioned this idea of idiot compassion, which is actually it's a term used by Chodron Trempa, who is a very famous Buddhist teacher through Shambhala. But he talks, it's a really actually beautiful teaching, which is that, compassion sometimes we think of as something like that's really passive, and we'll pity a person or we'll take care of them or do something for them and just very nicey. And in
Mm.
actuality, we have to hold that skillful means or a way of holding ourselves, and the way in which we do hold compassion, right? There's a symbol of taking the two palms together, and you take it with compassion and skillful means together. And that's what you hold at your heart. So if you only have
Mm.
one,
You can't.
then you can't. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that's really important, and that's what makes it very skillful and very active, and it's smart. It's very smart, as opposed to sort of getting dragged along.
I like how you put that. I think that as caregivers, we often feel like we're being dragged along with the responsibilities, with the new obstacles that we are facing with the person that we're caring for. But maybe with more awareness, being more in tune with ourselves, then we can tell when we're starting to be dragged, and then be able to say, wait a second, I'm going to allow myself to not do that by, and then of course you fill in the blank what works for you, whether it's sitting down, taking a breath, going for a walk, taking a nap, whatever it is. um, so here's my next question, which works very nicely with what we're talking about, is what do I do when I have feelings of shutting down instead of compassion?
Hmm. Hmm. So I always recommend to people, a practice in and of itself is to pause, to take time during the course of your day to just pause, right? So often we're all just, on this treadmill trying to check off what's on our list and to maintain a level of sanity by, rushing from one place to the next and doing this for someone else. So, and we don't even know how we feel, right? We don't even know how we actually are feeling, because in some ways we're sort of numb, because we keep going just to maintain the level of stamina that we have for each day. So it's not until we actually get into bed and then we can't sleep. So it becomes a vicious cycle, right? So taking pauses, many of them during the course of the day, even in conversation, before we respond or before we react, okay, I'm going to step back and pause, and then use a level of discernment before I move forward.
And of course, that can be applied to anywhere, like work, right? They say before you send that email, think twice. You don't want to make a mistake. And anything else that you would like to share with our audience, Gretchen, with our caregivers who are listening, who have participated today, that could be helpful as they are caring for others?
Well, just an overall sense of gratitude. I think sometimes these self-care jobs are very difficult and um, can be underappreciated. So, thank you for all you do, and take care of yourselves.
Yes, absolutely. Take care of yourselves. And again, I want to remind our audience that we have a great self care challenge set up for all of you on October 13th through October 22nd. If you sign up on our website, scrc.care or www.caregivercenter.org at /workshops dash events. There you will be able to sign up for the Caregiver Challenge, Self Care Challenge, and you will get daily activities, reminders of what you can do that day to incorporate it, and maybe share with others as well. There are some things that might work for you. There are some things that you might have to tweak and obviously make it your own. But the whole idea is that we incorporate some self care into our busy, highly anxious lives that we're all living in. And I remember hearing from a person. I was taking a class also on meditation, and somebody was saying, the best time, if you think that you have no time to meditate, that is the best time to meditate, because that means you need it more than ever. Gretchen, thank you so much for your participation, the lovely practice. I hope our audience is able to connect with us if anyone needs further assistance as a caregiver. And of course, to see more of our programming, don't forget to connect to our website, scrc.care. Well, that's all we have for today. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, Gretchen, for being here. And remember, SCRC is here for you to care for those who care for others.
Thank you.